Our guest today is Sadaf Shaikh, the founder of Caras Consulting. Since 2017, Sadaf has run Caras Consulting, a boutique consulting firm focused on helping leaders create a high-performance culture within their organization while focusing on people and processes. With engagements spanning North and South America, Sadaf and her team advise and coach CEOs and their senior leadership team on elevating and improving their HR strategy, organizational culture, employee engagement, leadership capabilities, and internal processes to get maximum results. As an executive coach and culture strategist, Sadaf provides her clients with sharp insights on people and situations, provides honest feedback, guidance, and tailored business-focused strategies that have saved or made them millions of dollars over the past 3 years. Welcome to the program today, Sadaf. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Michael.
So let's jump into the questions. I really am looking forward to hearing your thoughts on some of these ideas and what you've been doing in your practice since we first met a few years ago. You went from a career in HR to leadership coaching and consulting. Why did you make that change?
I've always dreamt about having my own business. And I knew it was going to be a consulting business, and I knew it was going to be in HR because I've wanted to be in HR since I was, 20 years old. What pushed me to start my own consulting business was in 2017, I looked around me and I had reached, I had reached all my goals professionally, but not where I wasn't happy. I had a 3-hour commute every day. I would see my children for 90 minutes every night. And most of that would be spent rushing them from one place to another, anxious to get them to bed so I could log back on the computer. Weekends were busy. And then at one point I found myself logging on from a vacation in India to do work. And I was like, there's something wrong here. And that was it. That was when I decided, I think it's time. I've gained 10 years of experience. I think there's no better time than this. So
I think that's an interesting reason for going into business, right? That you realize that you would like to apply that same level of work ethic to your own business and be able to choose when you work that hard or take time off. It just provides you with more flexibility too.
Yeah, and help more people too, right? Because when you're working for a company, you have that company's leaders and you're working for that singular organization. Whereas in consulting, I knew that there would be an opportunity to help multiple leaders, multiple businesses, and get, experience in different industries. So
absolutely. That's a real plus. Now, the focus of your boutique firm is on culture change. What drove you to select that as your primary service offering?
So interestingly, pretty much from the moment that I learned about HR as a discipline, I knew that there was tremendous power in that function as a whole and how much they could influence company performance. And, this is way before they had any studies or anything out, right? And so when I got my first HR job, I realized that we had so much influence over how the business actually ran because we were bringing in the people. We were the first, sort of line that brought in individuals into the company. And our little 5-person department was bringing people into this multi-billion-dollar organization and keeping them paid and trained and helping leaders, keep them performing. And as I moved around to different companies, I saw how different companies operated and what the impact that, their culture had on their results and how well they were performing at any given point in time. So I started looking more into that. And I realized that really culture is basically how a company does work, what their internal processes are and how they design those processes and how they enforce those processes. And, the way leaders responded to events and setbacks and successes all created the culture. And that was, what I was like, I don't think a lot of people recognize or put the two together. And so I think that's what really I was like, if I can help leaders see that their internal processes directly impact their culture and directly impact their results, then that was the main reason why I picked culture.
It's a big topic, and some coaches just aren't willing to take on such a big initiative within a company that has that level of impact. So I think it sets you apart from other coaches in that way.
Yeah, but when you realize that all culture is your internal processes and how people perform or work those processes, it makes it so much simpler, I think. And to some extent, it is a bit of a simplification, but with enough, what's the word I'm looking for? Like with enough focus on it, I think it does. That's how you change processes. And we have so many like case studies from, companies that have, implemented just one small thing that then creates this culture change. So it's always about finding that one internal process, that one thing that's going to, just like have this ripple effect.
Right. So in the introduction, I mentioned that you have saved or made clients millions of dollars, and it says that on your website too. That sounds like a really great selling point. How is that resonating with clients?
So that number is probably higher now. I should probably update my website. I think it intrigues people because most people don't know how to quantify HR into dollars. Like they know what they spend on their people and on programs, and they cringe at that sometimes, but they don't actually know how that translates to real money. And so I'll give you an example. I was working with a client who had acquired a particular division a few years ago, and the division was, okay, it wasn't fantastic, but there was a particular leader in that division where we were getting a lot of complaints about him. The company was getting a lot of complaints about this person. And so they called me in to go in and investigate and find out, like, do a cultural assessment and see like what exactly is happening there, because it wasn't in the same location. And so I went in there and I spoke to this leader in question and a few other people to really find out like what's the history, like what's been happening. And I found out that, the reason this leader was sort of, like this whole division was kind of like the Wild West is because there was no direction from their head office as to how they would like them to operate now. So they were doing it the old way. And so my recommendation to the CEO was like, let's do a restructure, put somebody from your head office to oversee that division, have somebody on site actually supervising, and like setting strategy and all of that, and leading the group over this particular leader. Instead of just firing the leader, which is what the initial HR's recommendation was. And so they did that, and they made the restructure. And a year later, they ended up selling that division for way over what they had initially bought it for. And the reason for that is because that leader who we salvaged, and who, by the way, turned it around once he had the right support in place, knew a lot about the legacy aspects of that business. And so when he was able to provide a lot of input and insight that elevated their asking price. And so that my recommendation made that company millions of dollars that they would not have otherwise seen. And so, if they had taken their initial HR's advice, it wouldn't have been the case, right? And so this is what I mean by like, actually quantifying what you do, and that you would see like the whole thing, like, in the immediate point in time, I would not have received the feedback to say like, oh, you saved us millions, but a year later you see that. So
a great example. And just in that one example, you saved or made a company millions of dollars. And
yeah,
you said you need to update the website because that was just one example, and that already proves your point.
Yeah.
But staying in that same vein, what do you find gets prospective clients interested in working with you in particular?
Listening, asking questions. And what I do is right on the call that I have with people, I give them a roadmap of what our journey together would look like. So I don't take it away. I don't tell them I'm going to send them a proposal. I tell them right away, like, okay, well, here's what I'm hearing from you. Here's where you want to go. And here's how we can get there together. And I tell them exactly how we would work together, like what the process is, and what we would achieve at the end was usually, what their desires are. And I think that shows a few things. One, that I've dealt with their exact situation. So I'll give client examples as well, where possible. I've dealt with their exact situation. I know my stuff, and that I'm able to give them exactly what they need. One other thing that I do, which is a bit controversial, I guess, is that I give them a guarantee that I will continue working with them until they achieve their outcome. And I learned that the hard way, because in consulting and coaching, your reputation is all you have. And if you leave a client without them being 100% satisfied that they got everything that they could from working with you, even if they didn't achieve the outcome, if they felt they got value for everything, like that you did everything, that they wanted, the way they liked it, I think that contributes to referrals and just, builds on reputation in general. So that's something slightly different, because when I've talked to other consultants and coaches about that guarantee, they're like, oh, but you can't do that because clients will never be satisfied. And I can tell you in my experience, since I've enforced this or since I've started offering it, I've never stayed with a client more than I thought was necessary.
I actually am very pro the guarantee, because I've told my clients for years that I guarantee your satisfaction. I can't guarantee that a coaching client will necessarily meet their outcome exactly as it was specified at the outset of the engagement, but I can guarantee their satisfaction in the sense that they should be extremely satisfied with the work that we've done together, or I'll remedy it in some way, including a refund. I've offered clients refunds if that's what they want. I've offered them additional coaching or to work on something else. So whatever it takes, I think it's very important that we stand behind our work and our commitment to their satisfaction. So I'm very much a supporter of that. Wow. But it's not even just that I heard too, Sadaf. I also heard you say that on the call itself, you create the roadmap. And that is super positive to me, because as you also said, it shows that I know my stuff. That my guess is that you're generally working with highly targeted clients, that this is a client that you believe you can work with. And since you've been there before, you understand the scope of the engagement, and you're able to plot it out right then and there, and have them then consider, wow, we could really do this. Like we don't really have to think about it and wait days and days for Sadaf to get back to us. Like we could go forward with this right now. Does that happen sometimes?
Oh, yeah. And I have almost 100% closing rate, I think, because of that, because most of the leaders that I speak to are, people that get to the CEO level, especially, no matter what size of business, they're action takers, right? And so if they know that somebody is able to help them now, today, and help them get to the outcome, most times there's really, they'll go back and they'll say, okay, well, let me run it by my team, or, that's it. But pretty much they're sold on the actual solution. So that does help. Yeah.
Wow. That's exciting. You just shared a framework here, which I hope that other coaches and consultants will pay attention to and consider taking the brave steps that you do to do it right then and there, and to offer a guarantee as well. Will others take that brave step? We'll see. Yeah. So you've also been brave about putting up videos regularly on YouTube. I know some time ago you launched your YouTube channel. I still recall being there the day that
yes.
you launched the channel. It was a lot of fun, and you made a lot of effort and put up a lot of videos. What has been your results with YouTube, if you would be willing to share with us?
Yeah, so I was super pumped about putting out, launching the channel, because I do feel that, aside from what marketers are saying, like, oh, video is where it's at these days and stuff, I do think that video is a really great way to connect with people. And when they see you talking and they see your thought process, and it's really powerful. Mm-hmm. The only thing is that I found with the YouTube channel, it was a lot of work. So I've taken a bit of a pause with it. Because the point of doing YouTube is to actually, one, get results in terms of, leads and sales, of course, but also feedback. I got great feedback. Like, people watch my videos, they find the information really valuable, but I wasn't getting any sales out of it. And I wasn't getting any inquiries out of it either. So I've taken a bit of a pause to reevaluate and see, is the subject matter that I was posting videos on, which was HR for small businesses, is that really the right subject matter? Are those leaders on YouTube, or should I be switching it to something else entirely, like leadership coaching or career coaching, success in your career type of thing? I'm not sure yet. So I'm still evaluating that, but it's a lot of fun to make those videos. It's just, and also a lot of work. So as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I so appreciate you being candid about it, because I have put years of effort into YouTube, and it has been years since I got my first lead that turned into business from YouTube. But it was a long time before that happened, and so much effort. So I can completely relate to what you're saying, and just continue to emphasize with viewers that when you choose a platform, know that you're going in looking forward to a lot of hard work and having to remain consistent and keep putting out good content that can help people, but then also consider taking a pause once in a while to evaluate and decide if it's working or not. So it seems like a smart thing that you're doing now to reevaluate and then perhaps reformat your content and come back with more, because I like your content a lot. You have a lot of great videos.
Thank you.
Now, this gets to my next question, which is related to a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort to run your own business. So the courageousness that you took when you left working for someone else and going into your own business will fuel you for a while. And then you'll realize, oh my gosh, I have to wear so many hats and do so many things to run my own business. How do you manage to stay on top of your business? Or said another way, what are some of the systems that you use to manage your business?
So I love systems. I'm a big process person. It's what I help my clients with as well, because when you have a process in place, there's less likelihood of you not doing the thing that you're supposed to. And I'm a huge procrastinator. I find it so easy to procrastinate on stuff that, especially when you have your own business, because you don't have a boss you're reporting to, right? Like whether you launch the channel or you don't launch the channel or you don't post a video, like you're not really reporting to anybody. So it's so easy. And so I feel like the more processes I have, the fewer excuses I have to procrastinate. And so, for example, I'll give you an example. Like I post on LinkedIn pretty regularly as well. And I used to find that, every morning I would struggle to think about what I should write about. And so I created a bit of a framework, and I said, okay, week 1, we're going to talk about this topic, week 2, week 3, week 4 on these topics. And then every Sunday, for the most part, I'll create content for the entire week. So like I'll do 3 to 5 posts, depending on, the topic or the theme. And then that way in the morning, I just have to copy and paste it onto LinkedIn. And that, for example, has because I would find myself spending like an hour writing a post, writing and rewriting. And so now when I sit down on Sunday, I give myself maximum 15 minutes per post. And now I've gotten to a point where I don't even need that much anymore, but maximum 15 minutes. And I was finding like, even when I spent an hour on the post, it wouldn't look materially different from my first draft. So it's like, it's not worth the extra time and effort. So now I 15 minutes, whatever it looks like, I'm like, it's done. Move on to the next one. If I even need that much time, but that's like one example. And then the other thing is, I think we were talking about this before we got on, but I like to outsource everything that's like admin related that I know I'll procrastinate on because I hate doing it. One of the things was editing my YouTube videos. So I got a VA who I was paying to edit my YouTube videos on a weekly basis. And then I would batch record. So I would do like 4 videos. Recording the videos wasn't hard. It was the editing part. So if I could just batch record 4 or 5 videos for the month and then send all of those files over to my editor, they would edit it for me. I hired my 16-year-old son to do my bookkeeping for me because it's basically data entry. And I just trained him, and now he does it on a monthly basis. So anything that I can outsource. The 2 tools that I use to keep myself on track and organized is the Full Focus Planner. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard of it. Yes.
Very familiar with it. Yeah, it's a very good planner, actually.
Yeah, so I use that. I have that on my desk every day, and I diligently use it. And then I use Asana for my longer term projects and tasks.
Love that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've discovered some of the keys to being successful in business is to realize that you can't do it all, and to accept your level of procrastination. Because I find it kind of funny that you're a procrastinator, but the sign on your wall is "Make it happen."
Yeah. Yes. And I think I need that. Every time I look in this camera, I see it behind me. I'm like, yes, I need that.
That's right. That's right. We
It's
need
been
to
a
remind
lifelong
ourselves.
struggle. It has been a
Mhm,
lifelong
mhm.
struggle.
But using systems, using other people, that helps you to get the work done, even around you.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
to. Otherwise, yeah, early on in my business, I wouldn't do my bookkeeping, for example, for like 6 months at a time. My accountant would be like, you have to get me this stuff. You're not going to be able to like get me to, or, you're not going to know how much taxes to pay. So yeah.
hmm So you may have partially answered this question already, but I want to ask you one final question for this interview, and it's to help newer coaches. What do you think new executive coaches and consultants should know before setting up their own independent practice?
So I think a big part of it is embracing who you are, and working with it. And I'll give you another example aside from the procrastination piece. Um, Another example is there is this concept in business that you have to pick a niche and be known for that niche, right? Especially when you're in coaching, because it's like almost like a personal brand. And what I realized, and it took me a long time to realize this, but I'm not a specialist. And I think you're similar as well. Like I'm a generalist. I always have been my entire career. I have a lot of different, even within the HR field, like I know compensation, I know a lot of stuff. I just never specialized in any one thing, but I like it that way. And so when it came down to picking a niche, I couldn't. Like it was this block. I just couldn't do it. So I've come to realize that it's okay not to have a niche for your entire business as long as each offer is niched, right? So you can offer, like I offer career coaching for mid-career professionals who are looking to change their careers. It's a very specific offer, and the offer is highly niched. But then on the other hand, I also do HR consulting for small businesses who need very specific help in setting up their internal processes. So I think go with who you are. Don't feel like you need to blindly listen to the experts out there, because I think a part of owning your own business is being able to live your most authentic life. And I think that is key in, just listening to what's in your heart and head and doing that.
Wow, I love that unique answer. This idea of being a generalist and a specialist together, as if we found another hybrid approach to life these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I never thought of it like that, Sadaf, because I, as you said, I am kind of that way too, in that I do a variety of different things. But for example, with my sales training, I focus on salespeople that are 0 to 5 years. So I do specialize in training and coaching newer salespeople versus just all salespeople, right? So I do believe in your concept. I guess I never really thought about it like that. So it's really interesting to consider that. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, you've been really forthcoming and generous in the time that we've had together, Sadaf, and there's been so much great information that you've shared. And it's really no wonder to me that you're the success that you are, because you have so much heart and passion for your work. And yet you have the analytical side, which is also determined that your work really matters for clients and you save them or make them millions of dollars, literally. So congratulations to you for the success that you've enjoyed so far. And I wish you so much more success in the years to come.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have you with us today.